GKB, God knows best. Hello, everyone. It is so good to see you all today. If you enjoyed this message, please subscribe to my channel, A Time to Love Ministries. Please subscribe to my channel, A Time to Love Ministries. Today, we will talk about honoring your parents. Honoring your parents. Let's jump right in. God commandments are perfectly clear in what they say. Though it takes thoughts and prayer, God's commandment never changed. This is exactly the case for the fifth commandment. Honor your father and your mother. And this is especially for adults because young children, they honor their parents through obedience. But what about adults? How do we honor our parents in the way in which is right? How do we honor them the right way? I've taken a long time to get to this point of my studies. It took me a long time to even put this together. You know, my aunts, they kept asking me to talk about this, but this is a very sensitive subject for me. And I really hope that you all enjoy it. So we have a tendency to skip over foundation and matters, especially when we're maybe in leadership at work or leadership at church or wherever we are at. Sometimes we have a tendency to skip over the things, the foundation of our lives, and we get straight to the practical stuff. But the deepest change is within ourselves. And as we see it most suitable to honor our parents, when would the time come? And would you understand on how to honor your parents? God commands us to honor our parents, but what does it mean? Why do he give such commandment? Why does it matter so much? According to Luke 6:37, it states, judge not, and you will be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Perhaps the most important way we can honor our parents is forgiving them. In fact, there's no perfect parent. All parents have fallen short of their children's expectations and their own expectations. Our parents have sinned against us. They may have unwisely made decisions on our behalf, or they may have made unrealistic expectations. They may have said and done things that may have left us deeply wounded. But for that reason, many children enter into adulthood controlled by anger and bitterness. They find themselves unable to move past their parents' mistakes or their parents' sin. What must we do? The only thing that we can do in this situation is honor our parents by extending grace and forgiveness to them. We can honor our parents best by forgiving them. If we stay in a state of bitterness and unforgiveness, how are we going to live in the freedom that God freely gave to us? Is it possible? Yes, it is very possible to forgive your parents. For we serve a God that is intimate and forgiving. In the Bible, we see Jesus was willing to forgive the ones who wounded him. In the very moment the nails that were driven into his flesh, he cried out, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. According to Luke 23:34. Standing at the foot of the cross and considering our Savior, who are we to withhold forgiveness from our parents? We cannot do that. We honor our parents by extending the grace and the mercy and the forgiveness to them. That is how we continue to get blessed. Secondly, we must speak well of them. I know that this may be hard. We not only must speak well of them, but treat them in a way of love. We have to refuse to speak with them evil or about them in an evil mannerism. We live at a time where it's considered to be noble to air out your grievances or air out your dirty laundry. I have done that before. But in the midst of all of that, we must think little of telling the world exactly what we think of our parents, our bosses, or whomever it may be. The Bible warns us that we are to honor and respect all authorities God has placed over us, according to Romans 13:7. It warns us that our words have the power to extend honor or dishonor. We cannot miss the Old Testament penalty for cursing parents in the same way of the penalty for assaulting them, according to Exodus 21, verses 15 through 17. The root of the sin is the same. If we are cursing them and then we assault them, that is the same root of sin. So to curse your parents or to strike them is to violate the 5th commandment as well as the 6th commandment. Christians, we are to speak well of our parents and refuse to speak evil of them. We need to speak well of our parents so that we are in the right alignment with God. We have to refuse to speak evil of them. Simple as that. Third thing, we must seek their wisdom. That is another way we can honor our parents, by seeking wisdom through life's twists and turns. The Bible consistently associates youth with folly and age with wisdom, according to Proverbs 20:29. And the word tells us that those who have lived longer generally accumulated greater wisdom. We do well when we lean on our parents for understanding or to seek their input when we're faced major decisions. In some cultures, this is expected. In some, it is misconstrued. But either way it goes, we are to honor our parents when we seek their help, even if we cannot use what they told us. But it is honorable to seek help from them. We must support them. This is very, very important because as adults, we have a tendency to forget about our parents as they grow old. We got to remember that one day we will grow old. We can honor them by supporting them. I'm not speaking of financial support where you're giving money, but I'm talking about other forms of love and care. As I was studying this, I thought of David. A particularly low point of his life, he was weighed down by the cares and attack of enemies. In the context, he cried out to God and said, "Do not cast me off in the time of old age. Forsake me not when the strength is spent." According to Psalm 71:9. David feared the combination of old and isolation, for being old and alone. And so do our elderly parents. They fear this. They fear being alone. They fear being isolated. They fear not being able to do what they usually would do. So we honor them by giving them reassurance that we are not to forsake them in their old age. Yes, when we were all young and and running around, our parents were there. They were there to take care of us when we were sick. They were there to send us to school. But we must honor them by giving them the assurance that we would not forsake them in their old age. We must assure them that we will care for them and we will be there for them. This is our responsibility, and it should be our joy. At a time when there are so many elderly people that are living alone, having no one to talk to, their children has signed them to a nursing home or hospitals or whatever the situation may be, we cannot forget to give them our time and our love. We must provide for them. I know that many people may know some elderly people that just need someone to provide for them, even if it's just going to the store, running errands for them. We have to remember that one day we too will grow old. We cannot expect for our children to do what we want when we get older if we're not doing for our parents while they are here. Children, we are to make some return to our parents. Christians who would not provide for their family members are considered are those who behaving worse than an unbeliever. How about that? So we are to provide for them. God expects us to provide for our parents. He expects us to love them and to give them care. According to Mark 7 and 9:13, it states, and Jesus harshly rebuked the Pharisees for refusing to care for their parents. We are to care for our parents. We are to honor them with our love, with our attention in their old age. The Bible calls Christians to take special responsibility for providing for their family members. This command applies equally to the parent of the young children and to the children of the elderly parents. We are to do this. God has called every child of every age to show honor to their parents and to refuse to dishonor our parents. He called us to honor them as an overflow of honoring him. He called us to serve people with respect and his sovereignty, and truly respecting our parents that he saw fit to give us. He blessed us with these parents. In what ways is God calling you to honor your parents? If you enjoy this message, please subscribe to my channel, A Time to Love Ministries. I would love for you all to give this some thought, because we are growing in a time where time is going by fast, and we have to be mindful of what we're doing every day. We must honor our parents. I thank you all for listening, and you have a blessed evening.